What's up everyone? Welcome back to Garage 13. I'm Dylan and that's Hanson behind the camera. Before we get into today's episode, we just want to let you know that we are officially changing the channel name to Garage 13 and splitting Random Logic Media off into another channel. And we're going to post our, professional cinematic, clients work on that other channel. And on this channel, we're going to be doing exclusively automotive content, featuring like car events, drift events, car builds and stuff like that. So look forward to all that stuff coming up, and feel free to check out our other channel when we start to post other videos. So for now, let's hop into today's video where we get my power steering pump installed. I'm going to be fitting the KA power steering pump on the RB, and I also need to install the alternator and the hoses that are on the intake side, the vacuum lines and stuff like that. So let's get started. So I got the KA power steering pump right here, and the reason why I'm going to be running this is because the line on here has the same fitting for the stock line. Obviously on the RB25 it's a bigger fitting, so I would need a custom line for that. And you just need to make a small modification to the bracket to make it happen. You're gonna have to grind this piece down just to fit within here properly, and you're gonna have to make this a little bit wider because this part right here is wider on the KA pump versus the RB25. So it's pretty straightforward getting on there, and luckily this was already modified before I took it off, so I didn't have to modify it. Alright, so it slides on right there, and then the tensioner will line up at the top. Or do I have to change that up? No, I don't have to change that up, do I? No. After you got it wedged on there, you're just going to slide the bolt through there so you can get it tightened and secure. It's a 14mm socket. You don't need to tighten it down all the way because you're going to have to adjust it to match up with the tensioner. When mounting it up, this goes on the head and these two go on the block. I want to move this out of the way just to make it easier. Alright, so we got it on there, and we tightened it down, but not all the way, just because we're going to have to adjust it when we get the belt on there. Just like this other bolt, we're not going to tighten it all the way, just because we're going to have to adjust it later. Alright, all done with the power steering pump install. Now let's move on to the alternator on the other side. So when installing the alternator, it is mounted right here on the block, and this other bracket, which is the tensioner bracket, goes onto the water pump right here. So I need to take out these bolts to mount the tensioner for the alternator, so I'm going to do that first. Alright, we got that on. Now it's time to get the alternator on. So on the alternator, I'm not sure if I lost the bolt or I can't find it right now, but I did find one that will work. I just need a bunch of washers. And also on the alternator, there's like a spacer that's supposed to go right here, and I can't find it, of course, so I made my own with a socket that I'm not using. So the socket will go right here, and this is where the alternator goes on the block, and then the tensioner will go on the opposite side right here. Alright, so I just realized that if you tighten this down all the way, you can't fit the alternator onto the tensioner, so you just loosen it so you could fit it on the tensioner. Alright, so we got the bolt through the tensioner finally. It was a little bit of fiddling, but got in there. After that, we'll tighten everything down, but just like the power steering pulley, we're not going to tighten it all the way just because we're going to have to adjust it when we get the belts on there. So we're all done with the alternator install. I did forget to mention that on the power steering pump, you have to use the KA adjuster bracket, tensioner bracket, or whatever. So I do have to modify this, drill a hole through it. Next episode, I'll get it taken care of. Alright, so I totally forgot how to put all the hoses back together, so I took some time and looked at other people's pictures on the internet and finally figured it out. So we have to put this piece up under between the intake and the oil, whatever. So we just have to, there's a little bit of room. It's actually behind here. And we're just gonna leave it dangling just for a second. This hose is goes right next to the coolant spout right here. And you want to align your hose clamps so you can access them. So this piece, this part goes onto the engine block. This goes onto where the oil pickup, I believe, is. This goes to the firewall, and this is a hose that goes to the turbo side. This hose goes on the other side of the hard line that we put on, and this will go to the firewall to go to the heater core. Alright guys, we got all those hoses installed finally. I do have a couple that I'm not fully sure where they go. I know one side of which they go, but not the other side. I just need to figure that out. I'll do that tomorrow. That concludes today's episode. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and like, subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll link our other channel below, so be sure to check that out. We'll be posting on it soon. Peace out, guys.